What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode 9 of Hail to the King, a Godzilla 70-year film retrospective. So many movies to go through. We are rewatching them all, sometimes watching things for the first time. It's been such a voyage, and I'm enjoying every minute of it. But we are getting there. Not too many more weeks left. We are going to be dropping down from watching 3 a week to 2 a week, and we're gonna, maybe throw some stuff in there, some of our favorite merch that we have out there that we like, things we see of Godzilla along the way, but and speculation for what's to come. So we will get there. Of course, I'm joined by the awesome Trevor Stottlemyre from Ambassador Radio. You got to go check him out. Everything is linked down below. And also, Sir Sturdy is back. We love him. His horror take on everything is fantastic, and we're so glad to have them both here. But make sure to go follow Horror with Sir Sturdy podcast and Popcorn and Pints as well. 2 great shows you're going to want to go check. All right, without further ado, let's bring him on here to talk about Godzilla 2000, Godzilla versus Megaguirus, and Godzilla, Mothra and King Ghidorah. Giant all-out monsters attack. That's right. It is a mouthful, but let's get started. Too many weird names.
yeah, I get it.
Guys, thank you so much for joining in today.
Thank you for having us.
We're in the weird zone now.
Yeah.
I thought I saw some weird stuff with Godzilla. We're in the weird zone now.
we definitely are. With all 3 of these movies too.
Mm-hmm.
It's refreshing after watching Godzilla 1998. It was like, all right, let's watch some Godzilla tear stuff up. Now, I like Godzilla 2000, which is where we're going to start tonight. So the title is Godzilla 2000 Millennium. It was in 1999. I enjoyed it when it first came out. I remember liking this way more, of course, than the 1998, which was, something new to me. But how do you guys feel about this movie? Let's go around, and Trevor, if you have any backstory or cool knowledge of this movie, I'd love to hear it.
Well, first of all, it was a answer to the Roland Emmerich, Dean Devlin film. Japan was not happy with it at all, and they felt they needed to take another stab at Godzilla, and by doing so, maybe trying to do it better. Which doesn't take a lot compared to the US Godzilla. Now, this film, versus several we're going to talk about, was the last to receive a theatrical run in the United States. And it actually confused people because a lot of people went into it thinking it was a sequel to the really crummy one.
Mm-hmm.
But, I like it. I went to the theater to see it. It's got a little bit more of this sheen to it that, there's this desire to try to make something look like a blockbuster. We're integrating by far more CGI into the pot, for better or worse. Mm-hmm. It's okay.
How do you feel about it, Sturdy?
I'm pretty much with Trevor on it. I did enjoy this one. I did like it. Definitely better than 98, of course. I enjoyed the weirdness of them all. I can definitely say that. What they said just seemed like it seemed like it fit. It seemed like it fit a lot more than the last ones that we watched. Honestly, they just made more sense, especially 98. Like, at least it was doing something Godzilla-ish. It wasn't Jurassic Godzilla or whatever the hell they did for that. And I kind of had fun with this one. I'm not gonna lie to you. I kind of had fun with this. They do for me though. They kind of blend. So some of the weird stuff that may have happened in one, I don't remember which happened in which. Like, I want to say it was this one where not even 20 minutes into the movie, like one of the ladies gets some black goo stuff just shot at her. I'm like, wow, this is starting out. Wow, already. What's next? But overall, I had fun with this. I had a lot of fun with this.
So I think I one of the reasons I really enjoyed this one is because of nostalgia, which I will admit, and but it just was after 1998. This was a really fun one to step into, and all my knowledge of Godzilla before then was like Showa era stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about it, you're like, oh, that's just a guy in a suit. I know now, blasphemy. I get it,
Mm-hmm.
and I 100% admit that, but for a 17-year-old who just saw a terrible version called Godzilla, and just, now you got this, I was like, this is cool. This is for age. This is for what it is, and I think it has a special place in my heart always for that.
I get that though.
But yeah, it's a problem.
What did you guys think of the significant change in the suit for Godzilla?
This was not one of my favorite looks. I didn't love this look.
It looked way too much like a toy, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It was too defined. I'm not a humongous fan of the Godzillas of the Millennial series as far as suits, but suit actors were still used throughout the entire series. It just, as I said before, it became a necessity to start mixing in CGI, and sometimes it's successful, and sometimes you see Godzilla jumping on its antagonist, and well, it looks really dumb. But if you cut that like one scene out, as like you just like your home editing going to cut the one scene out, it actually worked. So it's one shot.
Oh my god, that scene, Trevor! I had to rewind it because I didn't believe my eyes. I was like, "What the?" I was like, first they show him like jumping up, and then they show him just falling. So to me, I'm like, did he just jump off a top rope from somewhere? Like the way he's just coming down, like he's getting ready to like the body splash.
Like a body slam. He literally body slams the creature of Millennium. Which is an alien, which is kind of an interesting thing to begin with because the alien is also evil. And the G-Force units, whatever they call them at the time, because they keep changing the name, are trying to fight that. At the same time, they're trying to fight Godzilla. And it's a great, I feel horrible. I cannot remember the name of the monster, but it's a really cool design. So for an antagonist kaiju, that's actually the most entertaining part of the movie. As far as the UFO and the weird rock thing, that was poorly done.
There was quite a few things with like even the CGI squid thing or whatever it is, jellyfish thing. That's kind of like, I was like, when it was the city, when it was actually like Japan or Tokyo attacking Godzilla, I was like, this is kind of cool. I was like, I like this aspect of it. Like the alien using the city to beat up Japan, to beat up Godzilla, which he's been beating on the city for so long. So I thought that was kind of a cool like reversal. But then when you do get to that jellyfish, I'm like, all right, come on, man. Like keep it the city or something. Keep doing that the way you were. Like I thought that was really cool. But yeah, there were definitely elements of this. The spaceship, I was like, oh, the aliens are back, of course, the little weird ones from Astro Monster probably. But I did enjoy this. I did not like the design. You're right. I did not like any of the.
There's really only one major continuity point in this film as far as the series goes from here, and that is that Godzilla is now a very mean, nasty, to the point of sarcastic, if you remember some of the movies and some of the things that he does with his mouth and his eyes, that there is no redeeming quality. These are films that, unlike previous films we saw, at the end of the film comes when Godzilla and the other kaiju or kaijus have come to an end of a battle. These films always have additional material of Godzilla continuing to destroy, and he's still an issue. So that's one thing as far as a gel that brings the Millennium Godzillas together. But besides that, it really is a potpourri of crazy shit.
A potpourri of crazy shit. That needs to be quoted.
I
was like a potpourri of like that. That has to be on a shirt. A potpourri of crazy shit. People will be like, "What the
shit?" I love it because that does just these three movies alone. And I'm ahead again because I jumped ahead with the next movie, which we'll talk about next week. But it's continuing on that craziness, that bowl of craziness. But these movies, okay, so just to put it in perspective for anybody who's watching, this first one, we talked about an alien ship taking over Tokyo and beating up Godzilla, then turning into a jellyfish. And that is probably the least tame of everything we're about to see and talk about.
My goodness. My goodness, you're not lying.
I felt like I had to dramatically put that. It's just like because it's very true. Because let's move on to the next one, shall we?
Megaguirus. Oh my god.
Oh, and thank you for saying. I'll say it wrong. Yeah, Godzilla versus Megaguirus, right?
Megaguirus.
From
Close
2000.
enough.
So just to give everybody an idea of what we're getting into with this one, I'll read the IMDb premise for it. Japan creates an artificial black hole device to trap Godzilla forever, but a test of the device creates new foes for Godzilla. Car-sized dragonflies called Maganula and their queen, Megaguirus. This movie took me in so many different directions that I never thought a Godzilla film could ever take. Yeah. What did you guys think? Let's start there. Let's just go with that one.
This one was funny and fun, and I just feel like with this was like similar to the last one, honestly. It was like, all right, we messed up with 98. We messed up really bad with 98, but let's get weird. Let's get really weird. And what's funny about like this era is I feel honestly with any era of film, I'd have to see some movie. I want to see some movies that were like around this time that came out, but I feel like movies they all copy, even if they're in different genres, they copy each other with the weirdness. I feel like the 90s and the 2000s, it really started out with certain things that and you see like every damn movie. Like this is a damn Disney movie. This is a horror movie. This is a Christmas movie. They all have this same one little weirdness to it because it's this time. I don't understand why they do that for one.
Yeah.
And then like just the battles with this were funny. The thing flying over Godzilla, he just chomps the shit off. And what is going on?
Oh,
What is going on?
no. You can't gloss over that scene. First of all,
there's so much.
Here we go. Godzilla bit his dick off.
Okay, you went that way too, because I just had to say I didn't know if I just had my mind in the gutter or when Megaguirus comes toward Godzilla with his stinger and his tail, it has a very colloquial flower quality to it.
Yep.
Yeah, and it kind of took me aback. But we also saw in that clip one of the worst parts of the movie, and that was the use of slow motion to help with the special effects for Megaguirus's wings. It doesn't line up. It actually feels like there's something wrong with the film.
Yeah, it does, because especially when it kind of and first of all, you're never going to convince me that they weren't representing his dick getting bit off, because it starts with like a 180 pan around to his face with his mouth on it. And then like as soon as he chomps, it cuts to his face screaming. Like it's
I think it's worse that he actually waits a while. I mean, it's like chomp. It's like okay, that was uncomfortable. Actually,
that was
uncomfortable.
It was just like, oh, he did it,
and it's still the most, in my opinion, it's one of the most ruthless deaths in movie history, because then Godzilla goes on to double tap him with his atomic blast before the thing even hits the ground.
Hey, man.
Now, mind
Listen,
you, we haven't even explained how this thing has come to life.
If you could shoot fire out your mouth, you're gonna do that same thing. If somebody just comes out of nowhere, say you're just yawning, boom, dick in your mouth. You're gonna bite it off and then burn them, just like Godzilla did. He was bad. Like Godzilla wasn't even mad that day until that shit happened. That changed his life forever.
Forever, Godzilla was like, I'm a dick biter now.
Yeah.
This was a fun one for me. There's a lot of cool elements, especially the city scene when the guy and the girl are walking, and then they separate for a second. He goes down the alley, or she does, or something, and it seems it's such like a horror movie.
Very much.
It plays so well.
What you mentioned before, Sturdy, was actually from this particular film.
That
and
body
it was a
film,
concerted effort to make it more of a horror film. As you will see, especially in this film and then the next film we talk to, the directors hated the US version so much. There are a lot of references, even in the continuity when we get to the next film. Dealing with the previous film, not because they liked it, because they hated it so much.
Oh,
wow. Okay.
I don't know if anybody else felt as strongly as I did, but okay, it's a science fiction film, or as many like a separate subgenre of science fiction, kaiju. But of all the harebrained ideas. Let's develop a black hole that creates a wormhole and see if we can get the size down enough that it'll take out Godzilla. But there's only this much of a chance that it won't destroy the world. That bothered the shit out of me.
Right? And they tested it on an old school.
Yes.
Which they closed down. They tell you in it, we're closing down the school because that's where their test site's going to be.
Well, the Megaguirus this is actually interesting as far as continuity goes. So Megaguirus is actually based on an actual species of insects, dinosaurs, and they have appeared in the Godzilla films before because they are in Rodan.
Oh,
so there is actually a tie in there.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
Megaguirus is kind of already in because there was a lot of backlash on the fact that they didn't particularly want to do it because it was way too similar to Mothra, and that had only been a couple years previously.
Well, can I ask you this? Deciding to bring back Megaguirus for Godzilla, is that because there wasn't enough dick biting in the Rodan movie?
Well, there's a lot of pecker in that movie, but that's a whole other story.
I love that.
There are two Rodans, so it's a double pecker film.
So Sturdy, with this movie, like that element of horror, like I think I even texted you. Like, oh man, this movie has horror elements to it. What did you think as a resident horror guy?
I would definitely say it had some. It had some horror. Wow, slow down, 30. It had some horror elements to it. I mean, listen, man, the whole dick biting scary enough, but just the way like the Megaguirus, is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The way that creature looks is creepy, and I feel like they got the creepy factor more with this than they have in previous ones, like more of like a fear thing than like a silly thing.
We have to point that out. He's one of the scariest of kaiju monsters.
Oh yeah, and I loved the flooding of Japan, and when they come through and you see all the eggs, like there, and
also the scene in which Godzilla is swarmed by the small Megasaurians. That is beautifully done, and that's a situation in which CGI really works in this film because it's part CGI and part practical. So I think this film succeeds in certain things on a CGI level, although there's some major failures. But okay, so you got to put into perspective, these films are not making money. Godzilla Millennium did not make much money. This film actually ended up not having a US release outside of the Sci-Fi Channel. And these movies were not making a lot of money, so the budgets were going down, and I think you can really notice it in the miniatures. That's another thing that bothered me. Unlike Subaraya's miniatures and the miniatures we even saw in the Hensai era, is they're very much, they look like they came out of a box. It said building in a box. There's not a texture to them, which Subaraya, that's why anybody says it's just a guy in a suit. The Subaraya Honda films, I mean, it's art. It's not about realism, it's about a feel. So
yeah, I definitely see that with this, and even the vehicles in this look very fake. The miniatures and stuff. So like it did take me out a bit. Like whereas, like you said, being filmed in the past and having seen a lot of those elements, that never really took me out of it. It helped enhance it worked for me, because I knew it was a guy in a suit, but now it's like, why are we doing Matchbox cars? But.
You're right.
So Godzilla, of course, gets the best of Megaguirus, and no black hole for him. But it's a very odd movie. I do think people should.
Well, he is sucked into a black hole at the end.
True,
but this film is a little ahead of its time because it actually has a post-credit scene that that became part of all U.S. blockbusters. This is the only one of the Japanese Godzilla films up till now that had a post, and that is literally you see a school and a kid in the school, and he comes up to the window, and then you hear Godzilla's roar. Now, for our next film, they don't take that into continuity at all. Or anything.
Take anything in the continuity for the next film. But moving on to the last film for this episode, it's Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, giant monsters all out attack. And what's that poor little rhinoceros looking monster, the Godzilla?
Badagon. Badagon's. Well, I'll give you some more history about Badagon when we talk about the development of the movie.
I will say this. I like the look of this. I did like the fight scenes in this. There were some good elements to this I really did enjoy. But it is all over the place. The pseudo documentary, like, I don't know why she keeps calling herself a reporter. She keeps saying I'm a reporter, but they're like making up things
in a hard copy kind of way. Reporter.
Yeah. But she's like, I'm a serious journalist. Okay. Like, you were literally just making tracks in like the dirt. Like, what are you doing? So like, I think it felt like kind of they were trying to go with, it's 2001, kind of like a Blair Witch type of feel, but not POV at all.
Yeah.
I don't know, Trevor, you know the history better than I do, if what maybe some of the influences on this were.
Well, the first thing is who is directing and wrote the story, which was Susuke Kaneko. And Susuke Kaneko was the director and writer of the Heisei Gamera films, which were critically lauded. I love them. Everybody who's a kaiju fan adores them. They were made on this amazing micro budget and blew Godzilla out of the water when they came out in the Heisei period. He wanted to do a Godzilla, and he had approached the producers and such of, that are continually connected with the Godzilla movies, and they turned him down. This time they approached him, and when he approached the film, there were all different types of things he wanted to do. But leading up to the idea of this like showdown with 3 other kaiju, it was originally going to be Varan, who shows up in 2 Toho movies, Destroy All Monsters and Varan the Unbelievable, which is a Honda film also, Anguilas, and Badagon. Now, Badagon had showed up in Destroy All Monsters, but he was also a monster. Frankenstein Conquers the World, not to be confused with the Gamera Baragon. Well, they were going to go forth with this, and he was brought into a conference room that basically said, well, we're going to shut your film down because, Godzilla's not making any money. And then they look at him and said, well, if you can figure out how to put King Ghidorah and Mothra in this film, we won't cut your budget, because the rebirth of Mothra films did extremely well around that time. And then also, this is where the continuity gets weird. So we have King Ghidorah, but this King Ghidorah is actually connected to Orochi, the 8-headed monster, and that's mixed into the pie. So Godzilla is a supernatural entity in this film. And this is where the politics gets a little weird, because Godzilla is the ghost and souls of all those brutally killed by the Japanese Empire. Okay, interesting. You can make a major message film this way. But when you make the 3 guardian monsters the souls of the righteous Japanese soldiers, there's kind of a line of fascism in this film. It's a little creepy.
I appreciate you sharing that. That's awesome to know, and it makes me want to go and watch a lot of these. Like, I want to go back and watch Gamera movies and stuff like that, and visit that franchise too. Which I really hope doesn't have the same amount.
No, the Gameras are very weak. There are a couple great Gamera films, and there's a whole slew of some of the worst children's films ever made.
Love it.
I mean, artistically, the Godzilla films overall are much better.
Okay. Well, then I will take it, and I will only watch the good ones. No, but I watching this movie, the ghosts inside of Godzilla being a representation, like, I'm like, how heavy-handed do you need to get? Like, I mean, this is what he represented the whole time. Just let him be the monster. Why does he have to be like representing the ghosts? I was not.
They don't even go into the idea of him being radioactive, which is weird, because there is Okay, so in this film, there's a direct reference to the U.S. film in the beginning
Mhm.
when the high military man, talks about Godzilla showing up at this year in the United States and blah 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 blah. But they refer to it as a chemical, and nobody knows what this chemical was because the inventor died with it. So there is a continuity between the '54 Godzilla and this Godzilla.
Mhm.
But as we learned in the previous film, he doesn't need radiation. He can live off plasma. And this film, until the very end, in which the first person you see in the film, I forget his name, but he is a high-end military
The
person.
father, right?
The father of
Yeah.
Yordi, who is the journalist. He actually ends up taking a sub, going into Godzilla, and then drilling a hole in Godzilla because I don't know who thought of this, but the idea of, wait, Godzilla's atomic breath? If we put a hole in him, he'll leak. It's absurd. But at the end, he looks at Yordi and goes, "Stay back, I might have radiation." And I'm like, but you totally avoid radiation, and then you say one thing that we've been constantly going on about this series is anybody around Godzilla should die of cancer.
Yeah. Jesus.
Mhm.
That's the one thing. Yeah. Never want to see him.
Yeah.
But
Nah.
so what did you guys think about this movie? Sturdy, I want to start with you. How did you feel about this movie? You've seen all these characters before and now they're back again.
Honestly, I had fun with this one. I love the look of Gordon in this one. Love the look of Gordon, and I just took it for what it was. I kind of enjoyed these three right here. I kind of enjoyed them though. I kind of enjoyed. So it makes me feel better because I know there's been a past few here and there. I'm just like, pretty much, what the hell's going on? What's going on? And like looking back at those other ones, I'm just like, I just like a different type of weird, I guess, when it comes to these movies. And
Oh, I think you're
these
gonna
ones
like
really
these,
speak to
man.
me.
I think
These ones just speak to me
Especially when we get to
in a
find.
in a way. Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. But
I don't know if
these
you
which one is that?
Final Wars.
I saw it when it first came out. I liked it.
I've
Again,
never seen it, but
I didn't
I'll say I
hold back.
can't wait because oh, sorry, go ahead, man.
No. I was just gonna say it didn't have that same weight. Godzilla doesn't have that same weight back then that it does for me now.
Okay.
And haven't seen so much more. So like I'm anxious to revisit it, but I remember liking Final Wars. You didn't like it though?
I was expecting a lot because the director was actually known for this low budget film called Versus, which is a zombie ninja samurai biker film that takes place in a forest and is very
Certivision.
kinetic. And that
Mm.
was the hope that they would bring, kind of this cyberpunk feel and this new sheen of like contemporariness to Godzilla. And we will talk about Final Wars when we get to Final Wars.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we kept the Final Wars. I know.
And thankfully, it wasn't the Final War. So
Yeah.
I was gonna say I do want to say something about watching all these Godzilla movies. Actually, it came into this past Friday on Vision where we were reviewing Blue Sunshine. So there's a part in the movie where the dude's in the corner just doing this. And someone's like, what the hell is he doing? And this lady was like, oh, he thinks he's Rodan from the Godzilla movies. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, Rodan. Or no, she didn't even say from Godzilla. She said Rodan. And so I pointed out to my cousin, I was like, oh shit. I was like, remember the dude that's flapping? I even pulled up a picture. I was like, I had to because we're going through these movies. And that's something that Blue Sunshine, I watched that movie before a couple of years ago. I would have never, maybe a year or two ago, I would have never known that because before then I didn't watch Godzilla movies, and I've never heard of Rodan until. So it is cool like that. It's cool when you're doing this type of thing, you're watching these type of movies, and it kind of bleeds into another movie that you just happen to watch for whatever reason. You're just like, oh shit, like that's cool as hell now. And I remember having this conversation with Mick earlier when he asked me if I wanted to be a part of this, and I was like, I do, just for honestly for things like that. I can point out like, oh wow, that was from boom. I can point that out because of these Godzilla movies and the music from because of the Godzilla movies with the hip hop stuff and all. I'm just like, oh, I'm glad I'm getting to pull that from it, even if I don't enjoy every single movie, but I'm pulling some cool things from it. So that was just dope. I had to share that with you guys. I had to. And if you haven't seen Blue Sunshine, check it out because it's.
I appreciate you. Thank you for sharing that. That was awesome. Oh, I love that. Yeah, it does, and it's waking me up to like, especially Trevor. Thank you so much for so much of the knowledge and all of these. as
Well,
we're
thank you for having me and let me babble about it. So.
absolutely, like, I'm enjoying it, and, like, you guys, and seeing what you guys pick up on it. Like with this movie, this one was a good one for me. I think I just enjoyed the fights.
Same here.
I never, all the extra story with the G graspers or the G force or whatever else G. I all that stuff is secondary. It never really affects me. I just want to get to Godzilla. I go through that, but I want to get to Godzilla. So this was one where I really appreciated all of the Godzilla elements that weren't humanistic in any way. Like just the fighting and and stuff like that. But
a lot of people pick this out as one of the best Godzilla movies, but usually with that comes the appendage of it's the best Godzilla movie that shouldn't be a Godzilla movie. It's a great kaiju film, but it's not a great Godzilla movie.
True.
Okay,
true.
I can see that. I can see that. And it makes me think now that you mentioned. Excuse me. Wow, I don't know, my voice cracked right there. It makes me think now that you mentioned that though, like this is more of a kaiju film than a Godzilla film. And actually, it's also a question: have they ever done like just a straight up kaiju film and called it something like that? Not Godzilla blank, but kaiju's, and maybe they're in there fighting or doing something. I don't know what they'd be doing.
Well, I
there's
know
a lot of films
similar.
that were offshoots of the whole Subaraya.
They reference War of the Gargantuans in this one.
Yeah, big time.
Gyra is in it. I didn't know his name, but I remember War of the Gargantuan.
That is a phenomenal film. And if you have not seen it, I highly recommend it. They suggest it highly.
Like I know for me during this journey, like a lot of this, I really appreciate that they brought in so many other characters like Mothra and Ghidorah and things, because it makes me want to go and watch the first Mothra, watch the first Rodan, see how I feel about that. Now you're saying they revisited Mothra. Like I'd really like to see what a Mothra in the 2000s films looks like.
Oh, and Ghidorah, and especially this version of Ghidorah, which is more of a fantasy dragon, shows up in the Mothra trilogy.
Oh, okay.
So that was part of the reason why Toho looked at Sonosuke and were like, okay, well, you cannot do this with these monsters, but if you can tell us something with these two, which were financially viable in the Mothra trilogy, we'll keep going. And the story is he literally pitched it in 15 minutes.
Jeez. Wow. All right, that I can see.
I mean, it's not like it's that big of an issue. I mean, you just replace monsters, but
yeah, but still.
Was that the movie that had the kid in it that looked at Yori and was like, "Do you believe in monsters?" And I just wanted to smack the kid.
Oh yeah, because they're always attacking. Like, what do you?
Yeah, like, you little shit! Look out the window. But that's the logic of this movie.
There is a whole lot, right? Guys, I appreciate you coming on for this one. These three movies are definitely weird. I am excited for the next three too. Well, next week we are going to only be doing two again. So Godzilla against Mechagodzilla from 2002, and then Godzilla Tokyo SOS from 2003. I am excited to see both of these movies, and then after that we will be the next episode after that, in episode 11, we'll be talking about Godzilla Final Wars and Godzilla from 2014, the legendary Godzilla. Oh, so it's going to get interesting. There's a bunch more to talk about, and I'm super excited to be doing with all of you guys. And man, I'm just so amped. Like I love talking about Godzilla and learning all this stuff. So,
well, you mentioned before, Sturdy. One of the things about Godzilla, and even as to younger generations, especially now, is he's just in our pop culture. He's by far more in Japan's pop culture. But he is, the scary Hello Kitty. He's, the cultural giant that has, you virtually cannot find a person and say Godzilla and they don't have some mental connection.
Yeah.
Oh, he's that's a pop icon, like phenomenon. If any, Godzilla, this is bigger than anything. So,
by the way, people, we are doing Godzilla -1. Don't worry. I was just looking at the list. I was like, wait, I don't see it. I'm about to. If Mick don't have this on this list, I'm done. Because I love that.
Definitely have it on the list, and I'm so excited. Before we get going, I did want to try something new. And I want to share a couple of things with you guys. So if you're ever looking, the Showa era right now over on where is it? Amazon. It's selling for $139. That's a really good price for the Showa era movies on Blu-ray. So go check that out. And if you guys are also interested, we're affiliated with Entertainment Earth. We'd love it if you go check out the link down below. And they have some great Godzilla stuff. So if you're looking for some cool stuff, go use our link and help us out and get some cool Godzilla stuff coming out. So thank you guys for joining. I want to say thank you to Trevor. Go follow him over at Ambassador Radio. Make sure you're listening and checking him out there. Thank you to Sir Sturdy. Go check him out on Horror with Sir Sturdy and Popcorn and Pints and Sturdovision every Friday night at midnight. Guys, thank you guys so much for being on and hanging out with me and talking Godzilla. So until next week, be kind, stay classy, and I'll talk to you guys. Oh, and take care of yourselves. That's very important. Yeah. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Peace.